not to be so curious. They got up on the wrong side. If you pray it will end, and it will.
Just for that, I'm not taking you to the carnival on Saturday. And while I'm there tonight, you think about this. I'm gonna get even with you. You're not gonna know when or where, but I'm gonna get you so bad you're never gonna forget it. Never!
Well, it's the same carnival that went through Fairfield County last year and they had all that trouble.
Terrific. Maybe we'll get a little action around here.
What are y'all doing up there? You know you're trespassing on private property. Hold it there, Sonny. Drop that knife. I say drop it.
Why are you doing this?
Just protecting my family.
Your family? It's not even human.
Well, the Lord works in mysterious ways, little lady.
Hi, this is Adrienne King, Alice from Friday the 13th, and the hysteria continues.
And indeed it does. Welcome back to another jam-packed episode of The Hysteria Continues, and this time we're going to be entering the Funhouse. Aren't we, Erik? What?
Yes. You said entering.
Oh, goodness sake. Okay, but anyway, yes, we will be entering the Funhouse a little bit later. And
Is that a euphemism?
Don't think so, is it?
I don't know, just the way you say it, it sounds sleazy, but then that's you.
No, I think that's you, Erik. Isn't it? But we're also going to be... we've got a talking point of the week, haven't we, from Nathan. So we'll come on to that a little bit later. But Nathan, how are you doing?
Okay today.
Okay,
yes.
Good. No hangovers. It's all peachy.
Yeah, everything's back to normal.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear it. So, and Joseph, how about you?
I know something you don't know.
And would that be something to do with Erik?
What? No, actually, I was just quoting "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia."
That's Joe's new favorite show after Psych.
Okay.
No, it's a million times better than Psych.
Right. I don't know that show.
I like that show.
I don't know if it's come over here.
Oh, it's so funny.
Okay, right.
Joe, have you seen Horrible Bosses?
Yes.
Because Charlie is in it, and Charlie's really funny in that movie too.
Yeah, I saw it about a week ago. I enjoyed it.
Oh, I saw that. Ghastly from start to finish.
What, the sequel?
Yeah, I got free tickets at work. I went to see it. Awful.
Did you like the
I
first
heard
one?
the sequel's terrible. So,
but did you like the first one, Erik?
No, I hated the first one.
Okay, see,
yeah. No, I didn't hate
probably
the first
like
one.
the sequel.
I didn't hate the first one. I just thought it was a bit dull. This one was really annoying.
Okay. Right. Well, Erik, has anything made your face light up this week?
Well, yeah, I won't go too much into detail of what I thought of the film, but I got the Blu-ray of To All a Good Night.
Okay.
We're on Recently Seen now, are we, I assume?
Yes, we might as well go on to Recently Seen now.
Okay.
So,
this is a film I've only ever seen in a sort of nth generation VHS dupe. I'm not even sure if it got an official release over here. Did it, Justin, on VHS?
it did, yes.
Did it? Okay. Well, the version I have is downloaded from the Baby Jesus site. So it was nice to see it in glorious high definition, and it does look quite good. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like the latest Transformers, but it looks pretty darn good. The one thing I did find amusing about this new transfer is that all the day for night shots, which are plentiful in the film, haven't been really processed properly on this Blu-ray. So you have scenes of our heroine walking around with a torch in sort of blazing Californian sunlight, and bumping into things that she supposedly can't see coming, and so it's kind of fun that they've just my love beads again. Yeah, and there's some great special features on it as well. There's an interview with the final girl, Jennifer Runyon, who I didn't realize was is also the girl in the opening sequence of Ghostbusters. I think she's the girl doing the ESP test.
Okay.
Okay. And it's also got an interview with Catherine Harrington, who is the house mother in the film, and she looks a bit peculiar. I sent you a picture of her during the week. Yeah, it's an advert for the Anti-Plastic Surgery Brigade, if ever there was one. And there's an interview with the writer-producer Alex Rebar, who was the title star of The Incredible Melting Man. So it's got some great stuff on it, and it looks good. I mean, the film itself, as I said, it's probably one we'll cover in future years if we're still doing this. Joseph even.
That was
Control
not
your-
me.
Control
This
your
is me.
phone. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Can you
Very
not put them
popular.
away and put them in the bedside locker where they belong?
I can't help it.
Yeah, you're
It's
uncontrolled.
all these Christmas emails coming through that I'm trying to avoid.
From Santa?
Satan.
Some.
It's a nice segue there. From To All a Good Night.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So hopefully that's one we'll cover. But if you're in any way interested in the movie, I'd definitely pick up this. It's from Scorpion Releasing. It's a really nice looking package.
Where did you get it from, Erik, out of interest?
DVD World. Is that what it's called? The
Oh, is
one
that
you
the one I got?
recommended, the
Yes.
site.
And you get it quite quickly?
No, it took about 4 weeks.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it did arrive in the end. I'm still waiting for my Planet of the Vampires Blu-ray from them, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to pick it up. I've been meaning to. It's just not got around to it. So, well, that sounds good. Anything else?
And that was all I saw sort of horror-wise. As I said, I saw Horrible Bosses 2, which was horrible for other reasons.
Yeah.
I saw the first hour of a film called Caligula Reincarnated as Nero, which is a Bruno Mattei movie from 1982. And it's one of those sort of Italian cash-ins on Tinto Bras's Caligula. And nothing really outstanding about it. It's what you'd expect. It's shagging, lots and lots of shagging, even more shagging, boobies, vajayjays everywhere. But there's one great line in the middle. Nero is having an incestuous affair with his mother. His mother undresses in front of him, and his line is, "Oh, mother, I don't feel like nibbling on your nipples right now." Surely a cinematic first, that line.
I imagine so, yes. Those Italians.
Yeah. But it's as crazy as Bruno Mattei's other movies, so that's why I sort of invested some time in it. But I'm not really mad about those historical epics, although I do like Tinto Brass's Caligula just because it's so utterly mental. I did watch Pompeii, which was another historical epic. It's the Paul W.S. Anderson one. I think you might get more out of it, Justin, than I did, because you like your disaster movies. But this one is, for the bulk of it, it's a gladiator movie, which isn't something I'm particularly interested in. Not even Ridley Scott's lauded Gladiator movie did much for me. So once the volcano erupts and things start happening, it gets slightly more interesting, but I didn't think it was worth the effort. Maybe you might, as I say, get more out of it. You did enjoy 2012 after all.
Yeah, well, what's not to enjoy?
And I found a lot not to enjoy in 2012.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, what about you, Joseph? You like a good disaster movie, don't you?
Not really.
Am I alone here?
No, I like disaster movies, but I like good ones.
Yeah, some of them are okay, but I don't like stuff like. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of like Twister or Dante's Peak or whatever you want to call them. Those just FX spectacles just bore me.
Oh, I quite enjoy them, but for what they are, it's like disaster porn.
Yeah, well, this is a good opportunity for you to tell us all about your Airport 75 party.
Oh, well, yes. Well, that went really well. We had a double bill of Airport 75 and Airplane, because obviously Airplane, I think we spoke about it last time, Airplane's the film that spoofs Airport 75, and lots of people came dressed as nuns and pilots and stuff. And so we had lots of drinks, unsurprisingly, and we had airport trays as well. We've had
and
like
major hangovers.
It wasn't too bad, actually.
Did anyone during the night say, "I just want to tell you both, good luck, we're all counting on you"?
Quite a lot, actually, and we called the...
Did anyone slap you across the face and tell you to calm down?
No, but we were tempted. We did have every time someone shouted out "brace, brace," everyone had to assume the position. So
you're dirty, just
oh,
so dirty.
Can you hear cats fighting?
No.
Oi! Sorry,
we can't hear them, so you just sound like you're insane. You're hearing cats.
Yeah,
cat
there
noises
are
in your
cats
head.
out there. There are two cats fighting, so they're just being very, very naughty. But because Argento's kind of a teenager now in cat years, I kind of guess. So he's a bit of a juvenile delinquent. He keeps on staying out and going around people's houses.
And he's possessed, apparently.
Well, he is. We saw those photos, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bundle of fun. But yeah. Sorry, off topic. Can you hear that?
I heard that.
Yes.
Oi!
Oi!
Goodness sake. Excuse you, chat amongst yourselves. I was going to go and quickly just separate them. Won't be a sec.
Justin's about to get attacked in his own version of a horror movie by two cats.
You know you're off to a good start, and 10 minutes in, Justin's separating two cats from killing each other.
Yeah.
I know. I don't see...
I'm going to go see Horrible Bosses 2, Eric. I shall return with my...
well, my problem with Horrible Bosses 2 is that there's, the three lead guys.
Yeah.
There's Jason Bateman and the other two I haven't heard of. The other two I hadn't heard of were really annoying in Horrible Bosses 2, to the extent where every time they're on screen, I wanted to just, I don't know, dig my eyeballs out of my head with a spoon.
But see, it's impossible for me to find Charlie Day annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the worst in it. He is the worst in it.
Funny.
Oh, God.
I love Charlie Day. That you're wrong, Eric.
Yeah.
Oh, go see Horrible Bosses 2 and come back and tell me Charlie Day is funny in it. And
I will.
Well, you didn't think he was funny in part 1 either, right, Eric?
I didn't find part 1 very funny, no. I like Jennifer Aniston in it because she says really rude things like Justin says.
Her scenes are the best.
Yeah.
And does she say really rude things in the sequel as well?
She does, and she implies that she'd like Jason Bateman to defecate on her.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, she's a nympho.
She's total nympho, and she likes all kinds of weird stuff, like Justin. Yeah.
Eric, you're casting nasturtiums on me again.
Yeah.
Sorry. Argento. No, stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
This is so unprofessional.
I know.
You don't see Jay Leno having to stop the show to fix a cat fight, or...
Well, listen.
Oh, lovely purring.
Yeah. Well, I've got him on my lap, but he does have a habit of chewing through headphones. So I'm trying to separate them anyway. Anyway, let's get back on topic. So, thank you, Eric. Joseph, how about you? What have you been watching?
Let's see. I watched the new Schwarzenegger, and the only reason I bring this up is because it's basically like a slasher film. It's called Sabotage. Basically, he's a DEA, agent with a team, and they're a bunch of scumbags, and they steal a bunch of money from a cartel, and then someone starts picking them off one by one. And like I said, I only bring this up because it's extremely just gory and graphic, and it's a lot like a slasher film. Unfortunately, I didn't really care much for the movie because, for one, Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably the best actor in the film, and that's saying something.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. When he's the best actor in the film, you've got problems. And two, I like Arnold when he's kind of like, the sense of humor about himself. But here he's such a serious character, and he's so flawed and conflicted. It's kind of hard to watch because the whole movie's so bleak and just disturbing. I just didn't have any fun with it. So there's that.
So he's not his wisecracking normal self.
No, it's like the director's the same guy who did Training Day, so they actually tried to get a performance out of Arnold, and they actually did a good job. I mean, he's pretty credible in the film, but he's just playing a character that I did not really like. It's just too downbeat, too serious for me. I like my Arnold, throwing around one-liners and ripping people's hearts out and things of that nature.
I like The Last Stand. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that one was all right. It's more up his alley, I'd say.
Hold on, we need to...
We know very well you're a member of Big Dick's gang.
Then why do you keep asking me?
Where can we find Dick?
So...
I had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Joseph, anything else?
Yeah, on Eric's recommendation, I attempted to watch Coherence.
I didn't recommend it. I said it was okay.
Eric. I'll just go ahead and say I got about 40 minutes into it before I shut it off.
Shut it off!
Yeah, the problem is it's all handheld, so the camera's all jittery through the whole thing. That's just one problem. And the second problem is that through the first 40 minutes, everyone talks at the same time. Now, we had complaints about that in the first 10 minutes of our film, but this seems to go on through the whole film. People yelling and screaming, and you can't understand what anyone is saying. So I couldn't really follow anything. And by the 40-minute mark, even the intriguing kind of storyline just kind of was buried underneath these two things that really were bothering me. So I shut the film off. I couldn't finish it. I probably will, but I'm not really in a hurry. So Thanks a lot, Eric.
Yeah,
I apologize. Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you better take my advice about Horrible Bosses 2 and don't bother going to see it.
I can't do that.
You're going to go watch it anyway.
I didn't think the first one was like wonderful or anything. I just thought it was just mildly amusing, but it has to be better than what I saw of Coherence.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I've just got Seabiscuits just jumped on the laptop, so it's going to be one of those shows. But thank you, Joseph. Anything else?
Well, I was going to go on a rant about comic book movies and how I hate them, but I think I'll sidestep that. Basically, I watched unwillingly The Avengers, and I don't see how people get into these movies. They're all the same. There's no sense of danger, no thrills. I hated it.
Mm-hmm. Is that the
with you on that one?
That's the one with all the superheroes at the same time, like Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk and Thor, and I don't know, just a lot of cheesy dialogue, a lot of spectacle, and like there's one point where Tony Stark, who Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., he gets thrown out of a window by the bad guy, and no one's going to get hurt because they're all the heroes. There's no sense of danger, so he falls like 900 stories from a building, and so he's not going to die because he's got a wristwatch that he can press a button and the Iron Man suit will fly down and envelop him and save him. It's just, I don't know, it just really pissed me off. I don't know why people get into these movies and then, just kind of say, the slasher films do the same thing over and over. Well, these films do the same thing over and over. And I said I wasn't going to go on a rant, and look what I just did.
You went on that rant.
Yes, I did.
The mini rants, that's not too bad. So,
But, they always cheat like that in movies. When I was a kid, I used to like to go see the chapter plays. And one of my favorites was Rocket Man. And at the end of one episode, he was trapped in a vehicle and it went over the cliff. And I was so upset and excited. And you better believe the next week I was one of the first ones there. And it always started with the end of the last one. Well, in the beginning of this one, there was Rocket Man trying to get out. And right before it went over the cliff, he jumped clear. And everybody cheered, but I didn't cheer. I stood right up there and I said, this isn't what happened last week. They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car.
Is this another Simpsons?
That was miserable.
Props to me for remembering misery.
Yeah.
I couldn't help it. It seemed to fit, so I had to say it.
Oh, Nathan.
I don't think I've ever gotten an O from you before.
No. Well,
you've done O Joseph and O Eric. I don't think you've ever done that to me.
And considering the films you've picked, Nathan, that is a miracle, isn't it?
It is.
He gave you a big one.
I did. Okay, right. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's it for me this week.
Okay. Well, Nathan, I can hear that your dog in the background.
Yes, okay. He's lying down right near my phone.
That's all right. It's nice to hear them. The cats have abandoned me now, so we might have a little bit more normality. But Nathan, what have you been watching?
Let's see. I watched Home Sweet Home.
Okay.
What mistake?
And yes, he's like one of my favorite movie characters of all time. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I really like him. I would totally hang out with him.
Would you? Really?
Yes.
Would he be playing his electric guitar all the time? Mistake from How Home Sweet Home.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine him on the podcast?
He's great. But yeah, I love that movie, and I'm not really going to talk too much about it because I obviously want to pick it at some point. But
thanks,
just
Nathan.
so people know, I love it very, very, very much.
I don't think we ever doubted you'd love Home Sweet Home.
No, I think that was a given.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get an interview with Body by Jake.
Yeah, well, that'd be good.
Yeah.
We hadn't had any interviews for a little while, have we?
No. Facebook's made it harder to stalk people.
It has, hasn't it? That's quite annoying because it goes into their stalker folder, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, nobody even knows to check that thing.
Goes in the wrong box.
Now, it's really quite easy. You just take a piece and stick it in a hole. Now, I'm sure you can do that, can't you?
Yes. Okay. Well, anything else, Nathan?
Let's see. The only other thing that I saw that I thought would be interesting was I watched an interview with Jennifer Aniston. She was promoting Horrible Bosses 2. It was on the Graham Norton show, and he had a copy of Leprechaun.
Yes, I saw that.
Made her talk about it.
Yeah.
It was actually really funny. And she was, she seemed in good spirits about it. She wasn't like, oh God, I'm so ashamed, don't talk about that. And I mean, she was laughing about it.
Yeah, she was saying at the time she was really, really proud of it because it was her first
at the time,
big
she was
feature.
Like, she was like, I was so proud of it when it came out. So I thought that was really amusing. And it's actually on YouTube if anybody wants to see what all she had to say about it. Let's see. Other than that, I've just watched a lot of Brady Bunch reruns.
Didn't you watch Evidence as well?
Oh, yeah, but that's been forever ago. I actually forgot that I watched that. Yeah, Evidence. Joseph had talked about it, and I decided to finally give it a watch, and I really, really liked it. I mean, yeah, the ending's kind of stupid, and ultimately there's many plot holes if you sit and actually think about it, but, I mean, you guys know me well enough to know all I care about is I'm entertained during the whole movie, and I was, so I was pretty satisfied with Evidence.
Cool, okay.
And I was also very satisfied with the Brady Bunch reruns.
But of course.
So was Axel.
Quit yawning.
It's still early, isn't it? It's only, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, isn't it, where you are? Or
8:23.
8:23, blimey. Okay, well, thank you, Nathan. I was running through a few things that I've seen. I saw Ty West's Sacrament the other day. Well, it was perfectly serviceable. It's just kind of a bit bizarre. We've spoken about this, haven't we? Because you've seen it, haven't you, Nathan and Joseph?
No, I've not seen it yet.
Okay, I have seen it.
You have seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of, it's because I really like, I know Ty West is a bit of a, he kind of either love him or hate him, his kind of movies, but I really liked Innkeepers and House of the Devil. Now, Sacrament is not what I was expecting. I was expecting some kind of twist at the end. It's essentially, if you know anything about Jonestown, Jim Jones, the mass suicide, it's basically a kind of straight-ahead retelling of that, but not... it's kind of fictionalized. It's not Jim Jones, but it is Jim Jones, and the story is 3 people from a magazine get invited by one of their sisters to come and visit their kind of this religious camp they set up in South America, and they go there to document it, and then basically exactly what you think will happen happens. And there was no twist, there was nothing different. I thought there may be a supernatural something in the end, but it's very straight ahead retelling. I mean, it's done very well, but it just seemed a bit kind of not exactly pointless, but I couldn't really see the point of it. He might as well have done the Jim Jones story and just redid, actually told the Jonestown massacre rather than doing a kind of very thinly veiled fictionalization of it. It didn't seem to make any sense to me, and it's very different. You wouldn't, if you didn't know, apart from having 2 actors that were in who were in what was it, You're Next, which Ty West was in briefly. There's you wouldn't know it was a Ty West film. I wouldn't have said. But it's a good way to pass an hour and a half. But yeah.
Who is Ty West in Your Next?
He was the documentary filmmaker, the one that gets killed first, the pretentious.
Oh, right, yeah.
The arrow in the eye.
Yes. So what did you think, Nathan?
I liked Sacrament, but I'm like you. I mean, I know all about the Jonestown, Jim Jones and all that. So watching it, I was like, oh, this is really similar, and then by the time it got to the end, I'm like, okay, it's very similar. And, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of like you, where the whole movie I felt had this like great sense of dread, like, what's going to happen. And then when what happens ends up being exactly what you think's going to happen, it kind of takes the edge off a little bit.
I thought the guy who played Father, they called him Father, the Jim Jones character.
Great.
He was really, really good, wasn't he? He was really spooky.
He was really creepy.
I thought they were going to have some kind of twist, so it was going to be like it'll turn out to be something supernatural. There'll be something in there that would go off in an angle, and I kept expecting that. And it's just when it doesn't happen, it's because it's worth a watch. I mean, it's pretty well done, but it's not. I mean, the whole thing is kind of not exactly found footage, but it's shot by people filming, so it's kind of essentially a found footage film, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so it's all shot from the characters' cameras. I mean, it's not shaky cam and stuff like that. It's shot on high end digital, so it looks good. But yeah, it's worth a watch. I was just a bit disappointed, really, considering how much I liked House of the Devil and The Innkeepers. He said it was his first mainstream film, but it's a bit underwhelming, basically. The other things I saw was something actually quite surprising. There was on BBC. The BBC aren't really that well known for doing kind of ghost stories. There used to be a real sort of tradition for like ghost stories for Christmas, and they'd always do a M.R. James adaptation or something like that. And they started doing that quite in the last couple of years. Mark Gatiss from League of Gentlemen has been quite behind doing those. Getting those going, but there's a new 3-part serial, and the first part aired last Sunday, called Remember Me, and it's got Michael Palin from the Monty Python, but in a kind of straight role. He plays an old man who kind of basically gets himself admitted to an old people's home, and then there's a death, and there's kind of hauntings and kind of spooky stuff. It's quite M.R. Jamesy, kind of, if you can imagine, like the BBC Ghosts for Christmas with, violent death, M.R. Jamesy, and the kind of like Japanese sort of the Jew and the Grudge type of things going on, but with an Asian kind of sort of twist to it as well. So it's quite. Do you get BBC in Ireland, Eric? Or can you watch it?
Yes, and we have electricity as well.
Yeah, but you're in the Republic of Ireland, Erik.
Yes, I know. No, we do get BBC, yes. Yeah. Oh, I didn't see. I wasn't even aware of that. I hadn't even heard.
It's worth watching.
What time are they airing it at?
Well, it's on Sundays. It's on tonight, so it'll be on catch-up until later, I kind of guess. But if you can get it on iPlayer, it's definitely worth a watch. It's not, it's because we have that program, Gogglebox. You ever see that? Mm-hmm. Which is, I think we've spoken about before, but it's sounds like a really silly idea, but it actually works really, really well. It's kind of filming people watching TV shows, not the whole things, but clips of them, and they show them watching Remember Me, and they're all like screaming, and kind of reminds me of some of those kind of trailers where you have people, those kind of audience reaction shots they did for like My Bloody Valentine 3D and a number of other, horror movies, Paranormal Activity and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so that's worth a watch.
Oh, Mark Addy is in it.
Yeah, who's he?
He's a bear.
Oh, okay, well, of course. Yeah, so that's worth a watch. So the only other film I saw, just very briefly, was a British film from 1970 with Roger Moore called The Man Who Haunted Himself, which wasn't that great. It was all right. It's kind of Roger Moore. Essentially, he's got a doppelganger, and he thinks he's going mad, or he's actually got somebody who looks exactly like him, and he's trying to catch this person who kind of trying to take over his life. It's apparently based on a book, and Roger Moore said it was his favourite ever role. But we're trying to work our way through all the kind of British horror movies in the 1970s, and we've got The Shout with Alan Bates and Susanna York, I think, for tonight. So just working our way through that. So yeah, well that's me done. Shall we move on to Nathan? You had a special name for your segment, didn't you?
Oh yes, it's my Algonquin Roundtable, specifically for us.
Right. Okay. We need to come out with a sound clip for that, don't we? Is it going to be a regular feature? Do you think?
The what
I think
round
it should
table?
be.
What round table did you say?
Algonquin.
Algonquin.
You can look. It was like it's Algonquin was a hotel. If you look up Algonquin Roundtable, it was where all these like high profile, writers and poets and various people would gather and have serious discussions.
All right.
So completely unlike us, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm doing it, kind of ironically.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. But what? Oh.
Axel, quit yawning.
What is your talking point of the week, Nathan?
Okay. Well, my talking point for this segment is any killer that we actually felt sympathy for, despite the fact that they are a killer. And my first choice would obviously be Alex from Prom Night. I think we all felt some sort of sympathy for him. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
No.
Oh.
Is that because of his perm?
Yes.
Oh. How dare you?
What?
Actually, I did. I felt bad. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, because
I kind of felt bad for. I felt bad for what's the dude? Kenny from Terror Train as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he was really messed up before they played that prank.
Yeah.
You know who I've really felt bad for, and this is kind of a little off topic because it's not a slasher movie, but it's one of those From Hell movies, was Rebecca De Mornay's character Peyton in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Mm.
I actually felt a lot of sympathy for her, even though she's evil.
You know why I felt sympathy for her? Because that family is so sickeningly sweet.
Well, I mean, if you think about, okay, look, her husband did something awful. He did molest that woman, his patient. So that woman did have a right to turn him in. But Rebecca De Mornay is totally innocent. And then all these women decide to sue his estate after he kills himself and pretty much takes all her money away. And then, through all the stress, she has a miscarriage. So I'm like, of course this woman's going crazy. And her husband's gone, so she can't really take it out on him.
Well, I think there's a lot of slasher movies with killers who got you have some sympathy for. I mean, even something like Friday the 13th, when Mrs. Voorhees and then Jason Voorhees, you've got, you can see not why they're killing people, but certainly Jason was obviously messed up, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I actually felt sympathy for Mrs. Voorhees too, because, I mean, if you remember earlier, she tried to keep people away before she actually started killing. She did kill the two counselors, early on, but that was more of revenge. But as far as the other counselors goes, I mean, there was problems with the water and there were fires and stuff like that scared people away. I think she mainly tried to scare people away from doing it, but eventually Steve Christie just wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, and that she had to sleep with Steve Christie as well.
Wow.
She totally slept with him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She could just left a Toya record on repeat. That would
have kept everyone away. And then it would have kept people away from the camp. Is that what you're?
I would have drawn them in. They would have all been boogieing around Camp Crystal Lake. These sultry sounds of Toya.
I felt sympathy for Angela in the first sleepaway camp.
Yeah, I was thinking of Angela. Yeah,
poor Angela.
I think
I felt sorry for them. I can't remember who the killer was in Home Sweet Home, but I felt sorry for them having to put up with Mistake for so long.
No, Mistake was awesome.
What about obviously Marty as well from Slaughter High?
No, I didn't feel sorry for him in the least.
I don't know if I felt. I mean, in a way, I did. In a way, I do feel bad for him because I don't think he deserved all the bad stuff that happened to him. But on the other hand, I'm like, he was just so obnoxious.
He was a creep, is what he was.
I'll tell you what about in some ways. It almost what films with killers do you not have sympathy for?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
I don't really feel bad for Freddy. I mean, he was a child murderer even before.
Yeah,
he became another Slumber Party Massacre. Russ Thorne. He's just a crazy killer.
And sort of Final Exam. That's another.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, you don't really feel bad for him.
No,
you don't even know him, so it's kind of hard to feel bad for him.
Yeah,
New York Ripper. Yep. Does a lot of evil stuff in that, and speaks like a duck.
Opera.
Night School's another one, isn't it? Where it's difficult to feel sympathy for the killer because they're just doing it for selfish reasons, aren't they? And most giallos, the killers usually don't have much sympathy. You don't have much sympathy for them, do you? Because they're either doing it for money or because they're mad.
Yeah, this is very true. I always thought the killers in those movies were way scarier before they get unmasked.
What in a giallo?
Yeah, they're really scary to me. The whole getup. That they wear, the fedora, black gloves, and everything, and they kill people in such brutal ways. I mean, it's crazy. But then it's as soon as they're unmasked and they're given their motive, they're just not scary anymore. But they are when they're still got the mask on.
It's Mrs. Ward's treasure was supposed to be mine.
What? Justin was in Strange Vices, Mrs. Ward.
Was that a Justin accent? I was trying to do an Italian accent.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's the worst Italian accent I've ever heard.
Well, Joseph, didn't you feel sympathy for the killer in Terror at 10 Killer? Because he had always loved that woman.
I feel sympathy for the people watching that film.
Yeah. Did you know that Terror at 10 Killer, the killer in that, he's Murkert from Breaking Bad? Hank's boss?
No.
Yeah, that's weird. I found that out.
Is it?
That's not true. No?
Yeah, George Murkert.
Somebody from Terror at 10 Killer had a career.
Yeah, he's actually got a huge career. He was just on Sons of Anarchy. He's been in a few episodes, but he was just on that final season as well. He's actually a really good actor.
Wow. Okay. Does he have a big role in Terror at 10 Killer?
He's the killer.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, so
yeah.
So after watching that film, he probably doesn't have.
I'm sure he's left that off his resume though.
Well, what about? I'm trying to think what other like films like Hell Night, The Killer or Killers. It's kind of. Do you have sympathy for them?
I wouldn't say no, because basically they're just trying to keep people off their property.
What about Psycho? Norman Bates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I felt bad for Norman.
Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, he's kind of fractured in the head.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even realize he was the one that did it.
Wouldn't feel bad for someone like Madman Mars, because he could just kind of skip down to the Ace Hardware and get a new pane of glass for his window.
Well, exactly. And also, he was nasty anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
I felt bad for Maniac.
What,
really?
Joe Spinell?
And especially the Elijah Wood remake, Maniac, because I think they kind of focus a lot on, how bad he struggles with, his desire to kill. So I mean, I felt a lot of sympathy for his character, I'd say.
I've still not seen the remake. I need to watch it.
Oh yeah,
wow.
You should. It's really good.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, right. Well,
and I felt bad for Harold in Hospital Massacre.
Well, he was tormented as a child. Well,
he was.
Briefly, for about 10 seconds.
He was kind of bullied.
And he had to chase Barbie Benton's huge hair.
And boobs.
Yeah.
And boobs, yeah.
And boobs.
Cool. Okay, was anything... That's... You're going to have to come up with a different talking point for next time, Nathan. Can you do that?
I just thought this would be a fun little thing to interject, and people could write in and tell us who we missed.
I think that's a really good idea. Yes. Well, we're going to come on to feedback a little bit later, but yeah, do write in and tell us.
We're going to come on to who's back?
Oh, Erik, did you know that? What's his name? Benedict
Cumberbatch. Cumberdick.
No, what's his name? The guy who plays Sherlock.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's right. Apparently, his nickname at school was Bendy Dick. Come on my back. So anyway, that's just a little aside. So
thank you for that.
That's okay.
I'm sure he had a great childhood with a name like that.
Well, I think it was a private school. I think he's a posh boy. So
do we feel sorry for or sympathy for the killer in Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Yes,
definitely.
Because he had a bad upbringing, didn't he?
He did. Very bad.
I didn't feel as bad for his brother.
No.
In part 2.
Garbage
day.
Obviously, do you feel any sympathy for the killers in Scream?
No,
I don't.
No, I think their motive was a little too lame.
I'd say in all four of them, I don't feel sympathy for any of them.
I suppose the reason we're discussing this is because the killer in the Funhouse has a level of sympathy attached to him as well.
Exactly, and I think
he does.
We can seek. Should we seek into that now?
Let's seek into it.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
I've just seeked it.
It seemed to be a carnival funhouse just like any other. Mysterious, eerie, scary, but all in good fun. Yet it wasn't just any funhouse. In this one, there was murder, and the horror became real. The story concerns 4 teenagers who visit a local carnival for a night of innocent amusement. They soon discover, however, that there is nothing innocent or amusing there at all. Instead, they find absolute terror when the 4 are trapped inside the maze of the funhouse. One by one, each victim is taken by a monster who tauntingly stalks them. And that was from the Arrow Blu-ray version of the Funhouse. We picked this for Gregory Burkhart, who pledged generously to the Dismembering Christmas film. So here you go, Gregory. The Funhouse is... this is kind of one I'm on the fence about because I do love the opening, kind of the Halloween / Psycho inspired, POV shot of basically the little kid putting on the clown mask and stalking his sister in the shower as a joke. I also like that when he pulls the knife off the wall, it's an obviously real knife, but when he stabs her, it's obviously rubber. And I think the film has, excellent cinematography. It's some of the best in any film. Great usage of the carnival as well. I think, especially once they get inside the actual funhouse, they really put to use a lot of the mannequins popping out here and there, and a lot of the sounds and flashing neon lights, and it's just really well shot. It also has a lot of kind of unintentionally humorous elements, like the guy playing Buzz is like the oldest teenager ever. I think I looked him up. He was like 30 when he made this. And I also like the scene where basically, the killer, he dresses in a Frankenstein outfit, to hide his face because he's hideous. So he's kind of lonely and, misunderstood. So he pays the tarot card reader to give him a hand job. And I think he overpays her. She's kind of hideous herself. But anyway, he ends up killing her, for a half-hearted hand job. I was amused at that. So I think my problems with the film is that the kid story is kind of extraneous. I think they're trying to set up the whole contrast between the kid and the girl, the main girl, who actually is kind of a terrible final girl. I mean, for one, she's going to be, terrible because obviously she breaks a cardinal rule in the very beginning by showing her tits. So obviously she's not going to be like the simple, pure final girl like, say, someone like Jamie Lee Curtis would be. I think they were trying to set up some kind of contrast, but it just didn't really work. I mean, the kid basically, sneaks off to the carnival. He sees a couple things. His parents come to pick him up, and that's it. So they're really bogging down a lot of the time spent in the fun. Would be better spent inside the funhouse. Sorry, and coming off of that, it really takes like an hour before anything really happens, aside from the tarot card reader being killed, or basically the four teenagers just sit around watching this monster and his father just kind of yell at each other, over this and that. And like I said, it takes like an hour before anyone starts, being stalked or killed. And once that happens, it's pretty entertaining, pretty exciting. A lot of garish shots, a lot of some pretty decent suspense, and I really love how the finale takes place inside. Not necessarily inside the actual funhouse, which it does, but it also goes into the trenches where everything, what powers the funhouse is like the gears and all the mechanisms down there, and there's that whole chase scene. But another problem with this is that, like, I was reading Justin's review and I agreed with him. Basically, the final girl is just boring. She basically stands in a corner screaming while, her boyfriend does all the work. And then, spoiler alert, her boyfriend gets killed, and that's only when, it's only then when she actually has to jump into kind of battle with the killer. I actually had more sympathy with the murderer than I did her. I don't know, it just feels like a movie that, has a lot of promise, but it doesn't really go anywhere interesting, I'd say. I give it a marginal thumbs up just for all the, cinematography and the setting, and it's well acted, and I like all the characters. I think they're likable people, but the problem is the story. It just doesn't really do anything like, exciting. It has all the, the ingredients, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm on the fence. So I'll pass it over to Nathan. What do you think?
Well, to me, the Funhouse is near perfection for a film. It's not perfection because it's not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it is very, very close. And I didn't used to feel this way. In the past, I always kind of took on the whole thought process that it spent way too much time at the, carnival itself before they actually got into the Funhouse. And when I was younger, those things just bored me. But I don't know. Now that I'm kind of older, I kind of like that they're kind of showing, the sleazy side of this carnival and all the things that they're doing. It's just so sleazy. Like, the nude women who are like in their 40s at least, or 50s, which is actually a funny aside when I watched this with Greg, because this is like a yearly thing. We watch this movie with Grant, and when it shows those women, he is all the time remarking about how gross that is. So I don't know why, but that always makes me laugh, just because it's very rude. But I mean, I really, I love the carnival atmosphere. I love the, when they actually get into the Funhouse, I kind of like that. I mean, the one guy, man, his name, I completely went blank just now. He kind of brought it on them by, stealing the money.
Mitchell.
He kind of brings it. He kind of brings it on, on them, because otherwise, I think they might have, could have got away. There goes another airplane. But I kind of see where you're coming from with the heroine. I mean, yes, true. She doesn't really do much, but in a way, I kind of like that, because, I think it shows you another side, whereas you got, somebody like, say, Amy Steele in Friday the 13th Part 2, who's just kind of like a kick-ass kind of heroine. And then you got, the heroine in this one, who is more just like, she's never seen anything like this before, and she's just frozen in fear. And I kind of think that's, kind of realistic. I think some people have the fight or flight attitude, and others just have that attitude of, I'm just going to stand there because my feet feel like cement blocks. And I think she kind of is that one. And I do love the finale, though, in that mechanical room. Like, I thought that was, awesome. I love that. And I'm definitely a really big fan of the way it ends. I just kind of love that. Like, after all that happened that night, it's business as usual at the carnival the next day. They're kind of getting ready to set up, and she's just traumatized, and the fat lady's laughing at her. And I thought, that's just awesome. Like, it's a great way to end that movie. Really, the reason I say it's not perfect is, for slasher movie standards, I would have probably thrown in at least 2 more teenagers and kind of up the body count just a little bit. That probably would have been what I would have done differently. And another scene I forgot to mention that I really, really love is when she sees her parents through that big fan, and she's screaming, for help, but, they can't hear her. And I'm like, I think that was great, showing, I guess, how helpless her situation was at that moment. Help is right there, not far away at all, but they can't hear her. So I thought, that was really well done too. Way to go, Tobe Hooper. And that's my 2 cents.
See, I felt her parents were so aloof. They're just aloof to the point of being annoying. Like, the kid, sneaks off and sees all this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, let's just get you home and go to bed."
Well, I kind of felt your parents, they were. I mean, yeah. I agree. They were just kind of blasé about it, but I mean, I guess there are parents out there that are like that.
See, I think they were setting up with him putting that mask on and then pulling that practical joke. They were setting something up. It just feels like they didn't really. I mean, he gets to the carnival, he walks around the carnival, and he sees a few things, and then he remembers his sister saying that. So I'm thinking he might think that she's pulling a joke on him, but I don't know. It just feels like it takes away from the 4 teenagers who I liked. I would like to spend, a little more time with, or a little more time with the suspense stuff rather than the kid walking around. And then, at least if the kid's going to be walking around, at least give it some kind of payoff other than, well, let's go home and go to bed. And then that's the end of them.
That was quite the payoff there for that. And just on that, I just wanted to say, I kind of thought that it was a little bit of foreshadowing, though, because, you saw her reaction when he scared her in the shower. She didn't even move. When he had the knife in his hand, she didn't try to defend herself at all. And I kind of thought that was foreshadowing for the ending.
Could be. Justin.
Well, I really like the Funhouse. I agree it's a flawed movie, but I think it's an interesting one. I think it's on its own in some ways, in the kind of early 80s slasher canon. because basically there's a lot going on in it that you simply wouldn't get in a kind of a run-of-the-mill slasher movie. As much as I love them, I think Tobe Hooper's is fantastic at adding these kind of weird, grimy, perverse details throughout the film. I mean, if it was a kind of, say, air quotes, normal slasher movie, then the parents would just be, kind of mom and pop, kind of apple pie, the type of parents. But the fact is they're so disinterested, especially the mother, in her son and her daughter, really, that they're not as much the villains as the carny folk, but certainly there's this ambiguity there, that there's nobody it really comes out of this particularly well, apart from the 4 teenagers. Kind of everyone else really in the movie is not, it's quite a pessimistic, nihilistic view of the world. You've got all these kind of weird sort of bits and pieces in it, like the guy, the carny guy who kind of rescues the little boy is kind of, Tobe Hooper said, he was definitely meant to be like this kind of paedophile kind of angle to that. So you've got that, and then you've got you've got all the kind of things. It's got all the elements for a slasher movie, I think it works very well as a slasher movie. But you've got things, you've got like the crazy old lady playing the crazy Ralph character. But even that, with the whole "God is watching you" thing, is kind of a creepy twist on it. You've got like as Nathan talked about, the women dancing in the the erotic dancers. They're all about in their 50s, and again, so it's not, another director would have taken the route perhaps of having very attractive younger women doing it, and it's all this kind of thing. Now, I think that's what works really well. I think I do agree about the final girl. I think Amy Harper's is. The character Amy Harper's is quite a relatable one and a kind of nice one, but it's part of me thinks it's a shame she doesn't kind of come back into her own and sort of become this kind of uber final girl. But as Nathan said, she's it's actually playing to, it's a kind of more realistic, I kind of guess, sort of reaction perhaps from somebody going through a kind of, if they were going through that in kind of real life. I think the film is probably one of the best shot of the early 80s slashers. The Funhouse is kind of unrealistic in so much it takes it into another realm. It's kind of it's like a massive set rather than if you've ever been in a Funhouse or on a one of those kind of ghost train type places, you wouldn't get something on that scale. Certainly on a travelling Funhouse as well, I can't imagine. But what the set design is fantastic. It's I think Tobe Hooper said he wanted it to look like a Chagall painting, so the colours to be really vibrant, and I every time I watch it, the ending and certainly the colours always remind me of Suspiria as well, because the ending is very, very similar. It's kind of almost anticlimactic kind of final closing shots, although actually I think they work better in the Funhouse than they do as a close to Suspiria. So all in all, I thought it's a great movie. I do really like it. I think it's flawed, but in some ways it actually makes it more interesting. So that's my tuppence.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the color palette, especially towards the end with all the flashing lights. It really does remind you of 70s era Argento. I think Hooper really captured that very well. And what you were saying, how this Funhouse basically seems like another world. You're correct there. It's like it's a traveling carnival. They probably have to hire like 10 engineers, on staff just to put this thing together at each location they go to. It's like so, outlandishly huge and just so many moving parts in here. It's like it must take them hours to put this thing together, and it's like traveling. That's kind of amusing. But Erik,
yeah, I do really like the Funhouse. Like yourself and Nathan, I didn't always feel that way. I was used to watching it on a pan and scan VHS back in the day, and it's quite a visual film, so it never really worked on that level. And also, you were saying that like the teenagers, the mayhem doesn't really begin for them until over an hour into the film, and I thought that was stretching it out a bit too much. But now watching it, in widescreen as it's intended to be seen, and with a more mature mind, if you can believe that, I hey, I do think it's really, really good. I don't want to break your heart yet again, Nathan, but I think it's far better from my perspective than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's one that I would watch more often than his much lauded debut. Well, his launch into the mainstream, I suppose. I think that the opening for me is really bizarre because you have this kid creeping up on his naked sister and pretending to stab her. And there's something really sinister about that. I know it's just supposed to set up a fake scare and you're supposed to go, oh, it's okay, it's just her brother. But I go, it's not okay, it's her brother. She's there with her knockers out and her brother is there staring at her. Did nobody else think that was a bit subversive? No?
Well, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
a little.
I mean, it's,
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's typically perverse like the rest of the movie, isn't it?
Yeah. And, I mean, the four main teenagers are quite likable, maybe except for Richie, who's a bit of a dork. But the kid brother is so obnoxious. He reminds me of the kid from Nightmares in a Damaged Brain who says, na 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 noo noo, stick your head in doo doo. So, and also as Joseph put it, his role in the film is kind of superfluous after that. I mean, he just wanders around the funhouse. You think he might be their salvation, but no, nothing really. His plot strand just dissipates, with no conclusion really. So he could easily have been written out of the film.
It feels like they were trying to fill time.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, as you say, this is a big budget slasher movie for the era, and a lot of care has gone into it. There's lots of foreshadowing. There's posters of Frankenstein on the wall of the house at the beginning. I think they're watching Bride of Frankenstein on the telly as well at the time, which foreshadows the killer when he appears later on. And I like the way the genre stereotypes are kind of overlooked in this. You have the jock character of Buzz. You would expect possibly to be the obnoxious one, but he turns out to be the good guy. And it's the nerdy one who looks like a scientist who turns out to be, if you want to call him the bad guy, but he's the one who steals the money and gives away their hiding place. And that, which is probably one of my favorite scenes in the film, is where they're all hiding in the funhouse above the room below, the office, I suppose you'd call it, trying not to be detected, which is I think creates great suspense. I mean, they do something similar in things like Torso and Switchblade Romance, where people are trying to not make themselves aware to a killer who's unaware that they're watching them. So I think that works well. And as you said, the funhouse itself, which looks terrific, and I picked up on the Hysteria vibe as well, or the Italian 70s horror vibe that it gave away. And it's possibly the only slasher film I know of. You might be able to fill me in if there's another one, but where the final girl is seen emerging from a giant gorilla's mouth.
Well, yes, very possibly.
I think he does utilize the location really, really well. You see some movies that have a very gimmicky location, but they don't use it to its best potential. But I think in this case it does, and that's one of the great strengths of the movie is the funhouse itself. It's a bit TARDIS-like. It looks it looks sort of infinite in the interiors, even though it is quite big on the outside, I suppose, but inside it looks just, as you said, it looked like it would take about 400 people to set this thing up. It's not high on gore or inventive kills, so that's possibly another reason why I didn't like it when I was watching this first in the 80s. But it has going in its favour the unusual locations and likeable characters, and for me, it is Tobe Hooper's second best film after Life Force, which is sacrilege. Sorry again, Nathan, but that's the way I feel. The one thing I didn't really like was, the one thing that's kind of saddened me was the mutant animals at the start, which, I mean, they aren't necessarily being mistreated by the filmmakers, but I don't like to see sad animals. It makes me sad. I'm probably not alone there.
No, you're not alone there.
No. Mm-hmm. Did anyone else notice though the sign that said that the Funhouse, or that particular thing, was SP? Is it SPCA or SPA? So like an RSPCA accredited.
All right.
Not that it made any difference, but I thought it was kind of ironic considering what else was going on in the Funhouse.
Did anyone else notice that the fetus, the mutant fetus in the jar, the way the severed umbilical cord is positioned, it looks like the fetus is pulling itself off?
No.
Only you would pick that up.
Only you.
Only you, Eric.
None of us would ever notice something like that.
No.
Yeah, because you're also good.
Yes.
I think it's funny how opposite. No way. I think it's funny how opposite Eric and I am, because I haven't even seen Life Force, and it sounds sci-fi, so I probably never will.
Well, it's horror.
It's got spaceships and boobs in it. I don't think you'd like it.
Oh my God, no.
I love it. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror stuff in there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's kind of a zombie-ish movie as well, so maybe you would enjoy it.
Yeah, there's London gets destroyed, doesn't it? And there's zombies running around and stuff. So it's kind of it's a fun film.
Well, maybe I'd watch it then. I mean, I do like Toby Hooper, but I like Toby Hooper, but I hate sci-fi.
You like
so
Extra,
it's kind of
like
Extra I like, but it didn't take place in space. It's all about it taking place in space.
No, Life Force only takes place in space for maybe the first 10 minutes.
Okay. Well,
if you liked Extra, you'll like Life Force.
And they released this new trailer for Star Wars, and Wes asked me last night, "Oh, did you see that new trailer?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "It's bad enough you're going to make me go watch it."
I did. It looks like
watch
crap.
the trailer
I'm not afraid to say it.
I haven't even watched it. I'm that enthusiastic.
I saw it. It looks like crap, and I'm not afraid.
Well, it's going to be like more Klingon shooting at the Force or whatever,
And you're mixing two sci-fi franchises there.
Oh, sorry.
They're very interchangeable.
Yeah.
Well, actually, although I'm not a big fan of sci-fi at all, but I thought for our next double bill, when we have guests round, we might do Star Wars and Star Crash as a double.
Oh my God! You will pay for that. I swear to God, you'll pay for it.
Hey.
No, this is his own home, not on the podcast.
Oh yeah, not on the podcast.
Oh, thank God! Oh, thank God! Okay, you scared me. You scared me so badly just then.
I think it'd be difficult for us to justify Star Wars the slasher movie.
Yeah,
because I was thinking like, how is he going to twist that into saying it's a slasher movie? But I'm like, I don't put anything past you three.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Eric's going to somehow, and I know this beyond the shadow of a doubt, he's going to somehow shoehorn Dirty Dancing in at some point.
Oh, if only I could.
He's going to say, there's something slasher-esque about it, about one scene. It seems like somebody's watching them, and that's like from a slasher movie.
Well, I know how it is.
How?
Picks off your intelligence one by one.
No, it doesn't.
Or your dignity.
No, I told Eric I've converted to his camp. I'm actually starting to like that movie.
Yay!
Oh, Nathan.
I had time of my life.
I want you to sing the hula song.
You can hula if you want to. You can hula one away.
And you sing it just as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Eric.
I'll always remember, Jennifer Grey. She's like a 15-year-old girl, and then she's dating Patrick Swayze, who's like 50.
She's not just dating him. She's giving him her flower.
Yeah.
What's funny is wasn't she like in her late 20s when she did that movie, but she really looks like a teenager.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, back to the Funhouse.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we kind of went on a tangent there. Sorry.
So, what else have anything else that people would like to say about the Funhouse? I mean, it did get mixed up as video nasty, didn't it?
Yes, it did over here.
There's nothing particularly nasty about it, actually.
Nothing at all.
No, it's actually pretty tame.
I think it was partly because the theory was that the house, Last House on Dead End Street, was released as a bootleg to British video stores as the Funhouse or Funhouse, and then there was a theory that it was that's why the titles got mixed up.
Yes, the book Shock Horror disputes that theory though and says that is nonsense. But it does say that possibly because it had from the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre blazoned across the top of the sleeve. So that's what, because they were, as you were saying on the commentary track, Justin, on the Arrow release with Callum Waddle, that they were just targeting anything really. They were even targeting things like The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, which is a tame Dolly Parton. Is it Dolly Parton? And Burt Reynolds movie. They were even picking up that thinking it was porn. They really had no clue what they were prosecuting.
The irony is something like Friday 13th was much gorier, wasn't it?
Definitely,
in a long way than the Funhouse, and that didn't, and that was from a major studio, but so was the Funhouse is Universal, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it was put out by, was it CIC? in the UK, wasn't it?
CIC in 1983, and then in 84 it was banned, but then it was unbanned and re-released in 1987 with no cuts. So it just proved the theory that it was. I mean, it's a 15s rated movie, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. But
I go ahead. Sorry.
No, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say that the Funhouse does have one of my favorite taglines of all time, which is "Pay to get in, pray to get out."
Yeah.
And it's got one of my favorite opening credit sequences. Some of those,
brilliant.
Some of those like setups in the opening credit sequences, they're actually really creepy.
It is. I think it's. I mean, that it's. The whole thing. I think when I said in my review on Hysteria Lives, that whole idea of the Lon Chaney quote. I think it was from paraphrasing a clown. A circus is funny, but a clown on your doorstep at midnight is not. That's and that's so it takes that whole, the fair, the carnival is supposed to be about having fun, isn't it? It's supposed to be a place for joviality and a good time. But there's nothing fun about that fun house or that fair, is there? It's all
is the Funhouse an American name for a ghost train? Because I would call what they get on as a ghost train.
Yeah.
Is that?
I'm not sure. I've never heard Ghost Train before. This is the first time I'm hearing of something like that.
It must.
We just call them like either fun houses or just haunted houses.
Haunted houses, something like that. Yeah.
If it's got a train going through it.
Well, there's one like that here at Lake Winnipesaukee, and
it's like a little cable car.
Yeah.
But
it's not even a haunted house anymore. It's more like a wacky. They call it the Wacky Factory. It's like a bunch of neon lights, and that's it.
Actually, they've changed it back, Joseph.
They did? When did they do that?
When's the last time you went there? Because I went there for Lake Winnipesaukee last year, and it was actually more of a haunted house again.
Oh, well, because I went like 2 years ago, and it was like the Wacky Factory.
I mean, I think they've changed it back. I guess the Wacky Factory wasn't fun.
No, it was not fun. I didn't like it at all.
But we have, like Erik was saying, I mean, obviously it must be the same in Ireland, but we call them ghost trains.
Yeah.
And so you sit on a car and you go through, and it's all kind of but the ones you have, the travelling ones, are about the size of a double-decker bus, aren't they? If that. So you're on it for about 12 seconds usually. So that's why that. But you kind of suspend disbelief, I kind of guess, with this, and it's not a major.
Now we do have a double-decker bus tour here in Chattanooga, where they go around supposedly haunted areas in Chattanooga, and they have a guy kind of narrating on top of the bus. But it's definitely not scary. It's basically you're just paying to ride around the city, listen to some guy yammer on and on about stuff.
Well, it's kind of a very lazy kind of ghost walk.
Yeah, it is. It's like a ghost walk, but on a double-decker bus.
Gosh. I mean, is there anything else we want to say about the Funhouse? I mean, how do you think it sits with the, because I mean, it's the kind of hallowed year, isn't it, 1981? So it came out in a very crowded marketplace. But I mean, how do you think it stacks up against films like Friday the 13th Part 2, Happy Birthday to Me?
It wouldn't be in my top 5 of 1981 slashers.
It wouldn't even be in my top 10. I don't hate the movie. I really do like it. I think I found more problems than I did positives, so I'll be kind and stay on the fence. But I'm like the one dissenting voice against Happy Birthday to Me, a movie I like, but I think goes on too long. But even I found Happy Birthday to Me better than the Funhouse.
Okay, right.
More entertaining.
The Funhouse would be in my top 5 of 81. For certain.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it would be in mine. It's probably my top 10.
It would be in my top 10, I'd say, yeah.
I would say this. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I would say this. It's not one of my, it's not like number 1 or anything, because I do find other movies like Friday the 13th, Part 2 and stuff like that, they're more rewatchable. I do love the Funhouse, and I can rewatch it for sure, but Friday the 13th Part 2, I guess, is a little more, on the entertaining level.
Well, it's Friday the 13th Part 2 is the formula, isn't it? It's the slasher formula. It does it to a T, whereas the Funhouse, it kind of get the impression that Tobe Hooper was, he made this film, and it was greenlit because it was a teeny kill slasher movie, but a bit like what Jeff Lieberman did in Just Before Dawn. He took the kind of the basics of the slasher movie and did what he wanted with them. And Just Before Dawn is fantastic. That worked out really, really well. But I think Toby Hooper's more interested in the kind of perverse details, like the men ogling the kind of older dancers and the freak show, sideshow stuff. He's more interested in that side of things than necessarily the slasher movie trappings of the closing half an hour, which I think he does really well. And I think it would have been better to have had. I think it was as Nathan said that if you had a couple more victims earlier on in the film, it might have, that could only have helped. Basically, I think.
What about the? We were talking about the kid and how extraneous his story kind of feels. What about that little scene where the guy pulls up in the truck and says, "Hey kid, you want to lift?" And he pulls a shotgun on him, and then he laughs at him. Are they trying to go somewhere with that? I don't understand that.
Well, I think it was just kind of, it was kind of subverting this whole idea of, like an Americana type, that basically, and nobody's nice. The world is shit and everything's awful. And I think it's kind of a kind of worldview that's quite peculiar to a lot of Toby Hooper's films, isn't it?
I guess that works when you consider that you actually do have more sympathy with who the murderer is, because he's so deformed and he's kind of innocent. He doesn't really know better.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because we're talking earlier about killers you have sympathy for, and you have sympathy for this guy. Although I still to my mind, his head was too big for the Frankenstein mask, wasn't it? Again, it was that whole TARDIS type thing. I mean, the creature effects are fantastic. In this, it looks really, really good. But
yes, Rick Baker.
Yeah. But it's kind of, in some ways, it was quite unusual, wasn't it? Again, to have a slasher where you actually had what is essentially, for want of a better term, a monster.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You could easily file this under a monster movie instead of slasher if you're, you can view it both ways. Which is why probably it feels quite different to the regular 1981 slashers. Which usually had a human being who's unmasked at the end and saying, "I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you pesky kids."
Technically, you're pretty much correct, Eric. It's for the first hour. It's basically just kind of an allegory, mixed with a monster movie until the last 20 minutes, where it actually just kind of takes on the tropes and the cliches of the slasher film.
And it feels kind of William Castle-y as well in places where you have like trapdoors and skeletons popping up out of the floor and stuff like that.
See, I love stuff like that. See, if it were me, I would have taken out the whole kid subplot and just focused more on that kind of stuff, because that stuff was exciting to me, and I really loved seeing all the, how they put that together and how they shot it and all the colors they used. That stuff really excited me. But when they just kind of walked around following the kid, or even when the four main teenagers were just kind of walking around, it's kind of, I don't want to say I was like, checking my phone or anything like that, but I did find a few moments where I was kind of like, my eyes were kind of darting over, like, I really wish they'd kind of get to something else now.
I thought it was funny, because the whole Funhouse was a health and safety nightmare, wasn't it? Really,
absolutely.
Because having these kind of like the scene where the sword jutting out from the side, anything could happen, and did. And having axes and knives. I kind of guess in the context of the Funhouse is a kind of front in some ways for kind of murder, isn't it? Rape and murder. So
see, another thing I want to know is at the very beginning where she's having dinner with her family, and they're like, "You're not going to the carnival after everything that's happened," and then she's in the car with Buzz. And she's like, "It's that carnival that all that stuff happened." He's like, maybe we'll get some excitement out of this. I kind of wish, I mean, obviously you understand what's going on, because that guy, that the monster is, basically just kind of a deformed, mentally handicapped, killer. So I guess you obviously know, that this thing's been traveling, and people have probably been getting hurt or killed. But I kind of wish they went a little more into that. What else happened? What else happened to someone else? I thought that would have been kind of interesting.
Well, the dad says the monster's killed before, right?
Yeah, maybe
because he killed two girls.
Like I said, I do like that opening scene with the kind of the Halloween psycho thing, but I think maybe a more apt opening would have been what happened at another carnival.
Because he killed, is it 2 Girl Scouts, didn't he? I think that was what it said. they alluded to that. So, but yeah, okay. Well, shall we? I've got a TV spot here which I was going to play because it's a little bit different to the trailer. But when we come back from that, shall we come back and talk a little bit about background? Yep, excellent. Okay, and here's the Funhouse TV spot.
Tonight, in the Funhouse, something waits for Amy. Something deadly. Something evil. Something that tonight will turn the Funhouse into a carnival of terror. The Funhouse from Universal Pictures, rated R, now playing at a theater near you.
And welcome back. So that was the TV spot for the Funhouse. So we can talk a little bit about background now. Have you guys got anything? Because I know last time you said you were...
I got just one. I mean, I figured you probably had a lot since you did that. You did a commentary on this, didn't you?
I did a commentary for the Arrow Blu-ray, so the UK
right.
Blu-ray.
Well, the only thing I have, it would probably only be interest to Nathan, was that the father was Seamus O'Reilly on Oz. Nathan, the O'Reilly father. Remember him? And he's also the mailman in Funny Farm, the one who throws the mail on the road and laughs. The Chevy Chase movie, Funny Farm.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, well, Nathan, have you got anything for us?
No.
Okay, right. Eric?
Yes, I have some stuff.
Okay.
I have actually Fangoria issue 11, which has the killer unmasked on the front cover, and I believe they got into trouble with Universal Pictures for doing that, because obviously the film hadn't been released at that stage, so it gave away the surprise. But in it anyway, it revealed that Tobe Hooper was initially involved in Motel Hell, which I didn't realise. Obviously nothing came of that. He had been involved with the Funhouse before he made Salem's Lot, but he was struggling to get it greenlit. Then after the success of Salem's Lot, which was released theatrically abroad into cinemas in a shortened version, that's when he got the green light for... or he got the funding for the Funhouse, which was financed by Mace Neufeld, who was the producer of the 3 Omen films. And actually the Funhouse opened the same month as the Final Conflict, Omen 3. Rick Baker was meant to do the makeup effects on it, but as he was working on other projects at the time, so while he designed the look of the killer, he assigned the actual creation of the effects to Craig Reardon. And he based the killer's look on a cleft head deformity, which is also the one of the deformities of the cattle scene earlier in the film. They also decided rather than get the usual sort of stuntman to play the killer, they hired a mime called Wayne Doba, and I think you can tell it's sort of a trained mime artist behind the mask, because I think sometimes you can tell. The stiff who or Mrs. Stuntman look of killers in certain movies. Time constraints were the biggest obstacle to the film, apparently, as Hooper had a commitment to go to London to shoot Venom, the Oliver Reed movie, although he needn't have hurried too badly, because it turns out he resigned early in the shoot due to... it says due to a family illness in this edition of Fangoria. I'm not sure if that was the case. He had a checkered history with films. He was assigned to The Dark, of course, which... I think he was fired from that one, the year before the Funhouse. The shoot took 37 days. It was shot in Miami, in the same studio that the 60s kids' favourite Flipper was made. Craig Reardon is quite candid in the interview in this issue of Fangoria, where normally people are doing sort of press release type of puff pieces saying, "Oh, this movie is brilliant. It's really different to what other films. Oh, blah 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 blah." Craig Reardon says, "I don't think this film will be a success because the script is quite shoddy and it lacks depth," which is a bit forthcoming for what is essentially a press release piece. Cooper Huckerby, who has an awesome name, he plays Buzz in the film. He went on to have quite a solid acting career. He did a lot of TV. He was also recently in Django Unchained. Miles Chapin, who plays Richie, he went on to appear in Alfred Soul's horror spoof Pandemonium, and also in what I think is the underrated movie Howard the Duck. The producers said that initially when they approached Rick Baker about doing the effects. They said, look, the creature's not going to be seen that much. It's going to be hidden in the shadows most of the time. So he made basically an over-the-head appliance, basically a mask for the actor playing the killer. And it was more crude than he would usually do. And then in the end, of course, the killer is out in bright lights for the bulk of the final 20 minutes of the film. So Rick Baker looks back on it and is a bit miffed that I think the effects look fine to me, but you can tell it's sort of an over-the-head mask rather than an appliance that's stuck on in several different parts. Also using a lot of slime, apparently, which is an influence, they said, from Alien. They said, like, effects from Alien onwards all through the 80s were all heavily influenced by slime.
Yeah, they use Vaseline a lot and stuff like that just to give that kind of...
And KY jelly. Justin uses a lot of that as well.
Eric.
What? When you're doing effects for your haunted house stuff.
Oh, right, okay, yes.
Yeah. It opened on the film opened on the 13th of March 1981, which is a Friday the 13th. It opened the same day, very same day, was the world's first Rubik's Cube Championships in Munich. There you go. Apparently it made 7 million at the box office, although some sources say 8, and it was the 89th most successful film of 1981. Dean Koontz did a novelization of the script, which apparently is quite different. And I think have you read the book, Justin? You mentioned it in the commentary track on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I have. Well, I kind of skim read it. I don't think I've read the whole thing.
Yeah. He probably published it under his pseudonym of Owen West at the time. It came out actually before the movie was released. And that's all I have, apart from my wonderful joke of the week, which I'll give you after you've done your background, Justin.
Okay, well, thank you, Eric. The film was released, as Eric said. It made, the figure I've got is 7.8 million, so it made, which is around over 18 million in kind of today's money. So it's kind of not a massive success, but it was a moneymaker for Universal. But Universal also put out Halloween 2 the same year, which made them a lot more money, 20 million. I think Halloween 2 was actually the most successful slash movie, I think, of 1981. They also released Death Valley and The Thing in 1982, the following year. The film was shot in 6 weeks. As Eric said, it was kind of shot in Miami, and they created a full-scale carnival. They shot it on down there because they had relaxed labour laws, so they needed that for the child working at night. They actually had a casting call for animals that had been born mutated, according to Hooper. Hooper said that the studio didn't really interfere with the shoot because they let him get on with things, which is why I think the film has kind of this kind of very much lots of Tobe Hooper. It's very clearly a Tobe Hooper film. They said the only thing they asked was he stayed on schedule. It wasn't an original idea by Hooper. It was based on a script by someone called Larry Block. But Hooper apparently had admired a film called Nightmare Alley with Tyrone Power, which was set at a working carnival. They were able to use, obviously, the Frankenstein mask because of Universal connection. There was apparently some of the footage went missing and they had to reshoot it. They said it was it was shot around, outside Miami, but this was kind of the Scarface era. And apparently there was lots of violence and there were people taking pot shots at the studio while they were making it. Somebody was murdered on the crew during shooting. And doors were shot out when Hooper was in the office. So you can imagine trying to make a film under those conditions. Hooper said he had to rein in some of the young actors. He sort of said they were a bit unwieldy. They're probably just a bit high spirits and also probably trying to dodge bullets, I would imagine. It was Hooper's first experience of shooting widescreen, and I think it's an amazing looking film. One of the funny stories from it, that he had problems with the extras because to get all of the rides going, so the background when they're walking around, some of the rides are only designed to last for minutes, but they had to have people on there for longer than that to get the shots. And apparently one of the rides, they were on it for a lot longer and people were throwing up getting really sick, and were getting kind of were being flung around and had all these kind of strains and sprains. What else is there?
I have one I forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah. Go.
The film was originally... the script originally had the title Frankenstein Gets a Hand Job, but they insisted on changing that to The Funhouse because they thought it would have marketing problems with it.
Really? No.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that. Where was that from? Was that from... That's not
that
true.
That was from...
Toya magazine.
Stuffaboutthefunhouse.com.
Oh, I see, Erik. Oh, yeah. Erik, I'm too gullible, aren't I? What else is there? Oh, of course, the film got 2 posters. One of them is my favourite one is the one with the clown coming out with the axe, or the Jack in the Box, which I think is one of my favourite ever early 80s slasher movie posters. The other one is the drooling mouth of the killer, which is not quite so appetising. If I'm honest, but the novelisation, as Erik said,
I'm going to say what it looks like. Actually,
was
what a badge.
Well, Erik said it.
Oh, Erik.
Thank you, Erik.
Oh, Joseph. Oh, Nathan.
Oh, Joseph.
What? I said I'm not going to say what it looks like. Erik's the one that said it, and you're saying, "Oh, Joseph."
Yeah, well, you made me say it.
I didn't make you say anything.
You did.
After you two stop bickering, I'll just talk a little bit about the novelisation. I've got some notes here. It says, Dean Koontz said he took the gig because of taxes and because of monetary concerns. So basically, it was a kind of gig, he was a hired writer on it. Koontz's Funhouse seems to be more about the love of God and anti-teenage promiscuity. The Barker is a Satanist and Amy is pregnant, and they are related. Amy's mother in the book gives birth to a monster, and hence her love of the bottle, perhaps. Koontz said the screenplay was good, but I was only offered 10 to 20% of the screenplay to see when he was writing it, and said he didn't actually see the whole screenplay until he'd written 4/5 of the book already. When the film came out, Koontz said that sales of the book went down rather than up. So make of that what you will. I don't know if you mentioned Amy Harper, the character played by Elizabeth Berridge. She went on she was in Amadeus after this. That was her big role. Just seeing if there's, I think you've mentioned all the others. A couple of other people in things. There was David Carson, who plays the geek in this, who was in Hooper's Death Trap in 1977. The bag lady who plays the Crazy Ralph character, she was also in The Eyes of a Stranger in 1981. The truck driver who scares Joey was in Island Claws with John Fury from Friday the 13th Part 2 in 1980. Kevin Conway, if you've seen the film, he plays 3 parts in the film. He plays the Funhouse, the Freak Show, and the Strip Show Barker. He just won a Tony Award. Let's have a look. William Finley, of course, has a bit of a cameo as I can't remember his name in the film, but he plays the magician in the film, and he was in Brian De Palma's Phantom Paradise with Jessica Harper. He was also in Death Trap, Sisters, The Fury, Dressed to Kill, as the voice of Bobby, and also another film we've covered, which is the Chuck Norris slasher mashup, Silent Rage. Sylvia Miles, who I think is great as the kind of the Bronx fortune teller who puts on the voice pretending to be Transylvanian. She was in the proto-slasher Violent Midnight from 1963, which has a lot of comparisons, I think, with a film like The Prowler. Apparently, she wasn't particularly comfortable with the wanking scene, and
Who would be?
Who would be? Yeah, and said, "Have I just ended my career?" So I think there's probably lots of other stuff to talk about, but I think we've prattled on for long enough.
I have one more thing I noticed in the end credits. There's just before the final credits roll, it says "dummy courtesy of Shari Lewis," who is of course Shari Lewis was a famous children's entertainer from the 60s and up until the mid 90s, I think, with Lamb Chop. Do you remember Lamb Chop? Yeah. So I don't know which dummy she provided for the movie. Is it the one maybe that Amy finds in her bed in early in the film with the knife in its head?
That would probably be it.
Yeah. Because Shari Lewis is a ventriloquist, and that was looked for kind of like a ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah.
The
other thing that didn't actually make any sense really was that scene, because when she comes in to the bedroom, the covers are moving, aren't they? Like there's somebody underneath. Mm-hmm. But when she pulls back, it's the dummy with a knife in his head. And also, who lets a little boy have an arsenal of weapons on his wall?
There's probably the same. It's probably the child of the guy who owns Slaughter Hotel.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
Well, considering they just basically say, "Let's go home and go to bed," and no child therapy, I'd say his parents are probably pretty lenient with him.
Yes, I think so. The last thing I was going to say was the film was released. It got a cinema release in the UK. Obviously, it was given an X certificate, as all these kind of films were back then. But it was released on a double bill as well with My Bloody Valentine, in a very excellent poster, which I've got, like painted cover. So
yeah, I've seen those news adverts, the black and white. If you go to Google, you can search. There's like thousands of those, like the Funhouse and My Bloody Valentine together.
Yeah. So well, that's the Funhouse. Anything else you want to say about that before we get onto some feedback?
Eric, did you like the Barker, the dad?
Oh no!
What? He's kind of bear-like.
To a degree.
Yeah,
it's better looking than Amy.
He just needed to pack on like another 100 pounds or so.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
Well, Eric, actually, is it time for your joke of the week?
I think it is time for my joke of the week. Okay. And it actually segues nicely in because we're just talking about Kevin Conway. Did you know that Kevin Conway wasn't the original choice to play the Funhouse Barker? Originally, it was going to be the actress who played Liz, Largo Woodruff. Ruff.
Jeez.
Oh, Eric.
Ruff. Barker.
Thank you, Eric. It's. I would like to say they're improving.
You'd like to?
I'd like to say that.
But I think it's become a much cherished fixture. We need to give you a little theme for that, don't we?
Oh yeah,
jingle. The week. Could you come up with something? A little jingle?
Yes, I'll try.
I think you should. So, thank you, Eric, as always, for giving us or trying to give us a chuckle.
You know what, Justin? You know what you need to do? Like Pee-wee's Playhouse, you need to pick a word. Like it's a secret word of the day, and anytime any one of us says it, you have to like play with some really loud noises.
What, like slasher?
Like, I don't know. Yeah, anytime someone says like the word of the day, it's like the Pee-wee's Playhouse. They have all the loud noises, like wah, 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 just to see how annoying that would be.
That would. Oh, so okay. So I'd have to pick a secret word, and if you said it, then I have to. And then you'd have to work out what it was.
Play something off a soundboard or something, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have a... I think we still need to do our trailer as well, don't we? We need to get some... get our shit together, don't we? Considering on episode 90...
We'll have that done in about 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. So... Right, well, that was the Funhouse, but we have some feedback, don't we? Which is good, considering... when did we record last? Was it a week?
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a couple of pieces. Oh, Eric.
That wasn't me. That was Joseph.
I know it wasn't you, but I said it anyway, just because it's what people are used to. So, who would like to go first?
I will.
Okay.
This is from RJK 1971. I don't know his name.
1979, 71 even.
Yeah. I don't know his name. That's just what he gave us. But he says, "Hello all, a splendid, entertaining podcast. Have found several films I've missed over the decades since listening in on your reviews. Any chance for a future review of the 1986 underrated sort of / not really slasher film, The Hitcher? One other is the 1968 Peter Cushing unusual film, Corruption. The train and prostitute killings always seemed gruesome even for a Cushing film. First saw the film in 1980, late one night, and only found it again 25 years later. Still has an unpleasant appeal to it. Look forward to more bloody good reviews. And that was from RJK 1971.
Excellent. Well, thank you, RJK. What do we think about The Hitcher? Is it something we would cover?
I haven't seen that in 20-odd years.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good film, isn't it? Did anyone see the remake?
Yes, with Sean Bean, is it?
I did see it, but I can't really remember much about it. I don't think.
Neither can I. I remember it was passable enough. I wasn't as distraught with it as I was with, say, April Fool's Day or Prom Night remakes.
I think we could cover The Hitcher, but to be honest, there's a lot of other films I would rather cover first.
Like Dirty Dancing.
No. But Corruption is another. It'd be an interesting film. I
haven't seen that. Is it good?
Yeah, it is good. It's really bizarre because Peter Cushing always plays the kind of amiable kind of Van Helsing and all this kind of thing, and he's quite a gentle character even when he's battling Dracula, and he's always a gentleman. But in this film, it's kind of a proto slasher, I kind of guess, but he's very sweaty and sex murders, and in the uncut version, because there were two versions shot with clothed and unclothed. In the 70s, they did lots of those kind of varying alternative shots for different markets, but there's lots of blouse ripping and nakedness and murder and stuff. So it's it's a surprising. It's very atypical for Peter Cushing, but it's I haven't seen the uncut version, but I know it's been released on DVD, I think, or Blu-ray not that long ago. So I'm aiming to check it out.
Do you see a lot of uncut stuff?
Well, on most Saturday nights, yes.
Justin.
We haven't had enough of these, have we? Let me have a...
It took me a long time to get all that in there.
I bet.
So, all right, okay. Well, thank you, JK something 1971. Thank you. RJK, thank you. So, who would like to go next?
Okay, I have one.
Okay.
It's from Gareth. He says, "Hi, just to say thanks for another enjoyable podcast, this time covering the last horror film. Many years ago, I read a capsule review of the film in a fanzine-type review compilation magazine. As I had already seen Maniac, I was eager to see it. A few years later, on a hot summer's day in London, I decided to pay a visit to Walthamstow Market. Can't imagine why, as it's hardly the most glamorous part of the capital. It paid off, though, as halfway down the long market It paid off, though, as halfway down the long market, I found a stall in which an ancient-looking man presided over his stall full of old video cassettes. Imagine my surprise when this ancient-looking man turned out to be Justin Kurzweil."
Hey?
I may have made that bit up.
Oh, Erik.
Yeah. I can't imagine where he found them, but a great deal of the tapes were very old, pre-cert, i.e. pre-1984, and this must have been the early 90s, long after such videotapes became illegal to sell. The last horror film jumped out at me due to the charming cover depicting Caroline Munro with a broken bottle held to her throat. Upon getting home and watching the film, while naturally it was no Maniac, I did grow to love it. There was a nice bit of gore, but also a fun story. The fact that it's a time capsule of that year's Cannes Film Festival was good too. I loved spotting the hoardings for the latest James Bond film, etc. I also loved the cheek of the makers to have the stars walking around among real-life crowds of fans pretending they were there to see Caroline Munro. A few years later, when Troma issued the film on DVD, I eagerly snapped it up, only to be disappointed to find that half the gore had been excised. Not to worry, though, as your podcast has spurred me to pick up the recent Blu-ray. Keep up the good work, Gareth. Well, thank you, Gareth, for that.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Gareth.
I didn't realise the Troma DVD had been cut. I mean, there's not that much really to cut out of last horror film, is there? Although I do know on the Blu-ray there are some scenes where the quality dips, where they've reinserted maybe uncut footage. So I suppose that's what must be missing.
Yes. Actually, talking of 88 Films, who put out the last horror film, they're crowdfunding at the moment to do a restoration of Zombie Holocaust. AKA Dr.
I saw
Butcher,
that.
MD. So I pledged £20 because for that you get a copy of the DVD, the Blu-ray. So it's just a little bit extra, it just helps. But I think they're struggling to get the cost, and if they don't get the money, then they're not going to be able to restore it. So it's kind of one chance. They're not asking for that much money. Well, relatively, it's $7,000, but it's it'll be a real shame because it's probably my favourite zombie cannibal mashup
Yeah,
it's a very good fun film. So it needs a decent transfer. So if you're in a position to help out with that, and you're a fan of the film, then go and check out their website. Just Google 88 Films. But yeah,
I've never seen it.
Gareth. You've never seen it?
Oh, it's excellent.
Oh, it's great fun.
Would I like it?
Yeah.
Do you like zombie flesh eaters? Or zombie, as it was known as in the States. Yeah, because it's got Ian McCulloch in it again, and it's got kind of the same locations.
Okay. It's much trashier. It's much trashier. It's really, really funny. It's a really entertaining bad movie.
Then it's right up my alley.
Yeah, you'll love it.
You haven't seen a film called Dr. Butcher MD, have you? Which is its AKA kind of.
It seems like I've seen Dr. Butcher MD a long time ago, but it was on a very butchered VHS where like almost all the gore was cut out.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely worth catching. I mean, especially the it starts off in New York, and it's my favourite bit when there's one of the somebody falls out or jumps out of a hospital window, and they land on the ground and their arm flies off. Because it's obviously a dummy, so they left it in.
And there is that same dead body is seen on the autopsy room with its eyes blinking, and you can see its diaphragm of its rib cage going up and down as well. It's the worst dead body performance I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, you'll love it. You'll love it, Nathan. It's one of my favourites. So it's not Zombie Flesh Eaters is it's a great film, but this one doesn't take itself too seriously, I don't think. So, and it's unlike cannibal movies. It's got cannibals and zombies, but no animal stuff in it. So it's got it all good. It's all good. So, well, thank you, Gareth. Anyone else who hasn't read one out yet? Nathan?
I don't have any this time around.
Oh. Right. Okay. Well, I've got a short one here.
That's what he said.
Someone slap him.
I'm not in Airport 1975.
Okay, right. Well, hello once again. I just finished watching Visiting Hours. Glad to see the positive review on Hysteria Lives, and hoping for it to be covered on a future episode. It brought to mind a rather cheesy idea Erik could use for his joke segment. What would a really tough guy feel if Colt Hawker stabbed him from the left or right? A thorn in his iron side. So there you go. That's. You can laugh. Anyway,
you have to play the effects.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
That
was better than anything Eric's ever done.
Hey. That was good.
Anyways, the show is great as always. I am looking forward to hearing each of your thoughts on the Funhouse. Take care, Tristan.
Can we?
Thank you, Tristan.
His joke was so funny. Can we just fire Erik and get him on? And
wouldn't.
Oh, poor Erik.
I know.
Poor Erik.
So, let me just bit of Visiting Hours. Yes, I would like to cover Visiting Hours. It's an entertaining slasher movie. I do like it. It's kind of it's slightly atypical, isn't it, compared to obviously a lot of the slasher movies. But Michael Ironside's really good in it. It's quite disturbing bits to it, and it's another film that was banned as a video nasty.
Well, we could only do that episode during Visiting Hours.
Okay, well, fair enough. So,
see, there's the joke of the week, Erik.
It was absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
Right. Okay. As the show quickly unravels, what have we? Any more? Is that everything?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have got one other one, and it's from David Helvering, and he says this email. It's a long email, but he says this isn't meant to be read on the podcast, so I won't read the whole email. But he makes some suggestions about. He's suggesting a top 3 moments at the end of slasher films where it was revealed the killer is still alive, or that there's still a menace to be dealt with. So, what do we think about that as a top 3 idea? He quotes films like Halloween, obviously thinking Loomis's face at the end when he realises Michael Myers is gone, or Alice in Friday the 13th when then he's still out there moment. Do you think we could make a top 3 out of that?
I think there's plenty of films that do that. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she'll take that. We shall take that on board. He also said he would like us do a kind of a slasher school podcast, maybe in August around the back to school time, where we spend time talking about the important moments or films in the genre, or films that contained an element that moved the slasher in a new direction. And the example he gives is, even though Halloween is an important slasher, for me, a major element came into place when Alice kills Mrs. Voorhees in Friday the 13th. Does that make sense to you? Or I'm not sure if
basically what he's saying is, since she killed Alice, they brought in Jason in a new direction. So
and that's a pivotal moment in slasher history.
Yes. Well, the thing is, we could with Nathan's algorithm or whatever it was table. We could.
We could flowers for Algernon.
Yeah. Algorithm.
What's it called? What's the round table called?
Algonquin.
Alcohol.
It's also
the Gonk twins.
It's the dog's name in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I think are we gonna? Well, let's see. Actually, let's. Have we decided what we're covering next time?
Yeah, I think Nathan has. Nathan, are you going to reveal?
Yes, we are going to be flying over to beautiful Belgium for a weekend with the Rabid Grannies.
Ah, yes. So some Euro horror.
Those rabid MILFs.
Have you guys seen it?
No, not in 20 years. So
I have, obviously.
You did see it. You have seen it, Erik.
I have, but many, many years ago. So
I haven't seen it since I saw it in 1990 at its premiere in London.
Oh,
so,
that'll be a good story to talk about.
I must have seen it about 91 then when it was out in video.
Yeah, make it sound like it's not like a red carpet event. It was one of the Scala Shock Around the Clock, one of those 24-hour horror film fests. So it's the same one I saw Exorcist 3.
Was it in a Spanish supermarket?
No, it was in a London cinema called the Scala, which is I don't know if it's still going actually, but there's don't think it is. But it's quite a sleazy part of London.
You did.
Do you remember?
Member?
Go ahead, Joseph. I was going to say, do you remember anything about it?
Well, I can remember there's grannies and they're rabid. And I remember there's some
great memory you've got there.
And some quite.
Is it a slasher movie though?
I think it's going to be one of those ones that kind of like toes the line. I mean, it is like a huge group of people trapped in one place getting killed off in bloody ways. So, I mean, even though the killers themselves, I guess, are more monster than slasher, I mean, I think it could fall in line just as easily as the Funhouse can.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, no, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to revisiting that. Hasn't it got some like really funny Euro dubbing as well?
I would say so. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Well, that's what's coming up next time. And is there anything else left to say? What are we playing? What are we playing out with, Joseph?
This is just incidental carnival music from the credits.
Okay.
She's a carnival.
Erik,
Susie and the Banshees song.
Susie, I know, random Susie mention.
Just to let you know, Toya did have a cameo in the Funhouse as the bearded lady.
Blah 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 blah.
Oh, Erik. So are we? I can't remember. Are we doing a Christmas one as well? Are we having a special Christmas episode?
Yes, we are. It's actually a week. Was it a week after Nathan's next pick, or?
Okay.
I think it is. Yeah.
I guess we can go ahead and announce that now, or should we wait?
Well, this is coming out. I'm going to release this today. This is fascinating behind-the-scenes stuff for our
Rabbit
listeners.
Grannies will be on the 14th of December.
Yeah. And then, okay.
And the week after that, we'll have our Christmas one.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to be. Let's reveal it, shall we? We're going to be doing. Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
And funnily enough, I put up my Christmas decorations today, and I put up my one sheet for Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Is that your Christmas decorations? Just putting up Silent Night, Deadly Night poster?
Well, I put some tinsel around it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so it's very Christmassy. So, so that'll be a fun one. And maybe we can do a festive quiz, I think. For all those people, those 4 people out there who like our quizzes.
Yeah.
But I had a thought with the quiz, actually. If we do a timer, I think if we do the quick fire rounds...
Yeah.
And then...
That means Justin can't cheat by looking up on the internet.
I've never done that.
You've always done
I think that the people's biggest complaints is, I guess, when we take a while thinking about what the answer might be, and it just kind of gets a little boring for the listener.
Yeah.
So maybe if we do quick fire rounds, it's not boring.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Maybe I'll set up a Christmas quiz, and I'll have like a timer, so you guys can't cheat, because I never cheat ever.
What I don't get is, why would any of us cheat? Like, it's not like we're winning anything.
I actually don't.
I haven't done that either. I'm like, it's not like we win anything if we win a quiz.
It's pride.
It's like
pride.
I don't have any pride.
The only reason I want to do a quiz again, especially for Christmas, because I want Inga to come back.
Yes.
It's been too long since Inga.
I miss Inga.
Yeah.
I do too.
A special Christmas Inga.
Yes. Inga will slide down your chimneys and bring Christmas tantrums to you all.
Hey, that's a good top 3. Our top 3 Inga moments.
Yeah, well, we could do. Well, if you want to write in and let us know what the top 3 Inga moments are, or if you would like Inga back. Actually, we haven't done let's just play the contact details, because that'd be a good way to let you know how to contact the show.
Be sure to search for and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at THC_podcast. Our voicemail is 858-233-9281. And you can email us directly at the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com.
Yes, so do drop us a line. We do love hearing from you. And yeah, well, that's all good. I'm about to go and play badminton. I can't even say that right now. So, more excitement for our listeners. But what are you guys? You got anything exciting planned for the rest of the day?
Probably going to go see Horrible Bosses 2.
Oh, my condolences.
In other words,
I'm going to eat something soon because I'm hungry.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm going to breathe in and out.
Inga Myers in the house. Okay, right. Well, let's wrap this up and let's get the hell out of here. So, thanks for joining us again for another episode of the Hysteria Continues, and we're now on to the 90s, aren't we? So, well, as in it'll be 91, episode 91 next. So we were off to Belgium for a bit of Rabid Grannies. So thanks for joining us, and catch you on the flip side.
Yo,
Dude Meisters, not. Sorry.
Erik, I can't believe you broke cunt flaps on my...
Yep. I'm feeling especially bold today.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about?
My bottom?
You have no idea how frightened I was when I thought Justin was talking about picking those 2 sci-fi movies.